Third Phase of Moon, Blake Cousins, we got a special report for you tonight. We've got the panel in regards to our invitation to Luis Elizondo, Nick Pope, Jeremy Corbell. We've gotten their responses loud and clear, and we decided to give you guys an update. We're going to be going in depth when we have Dr. Greer on the show, and we're going to be showcasing step by step on how we were able to obtain these responses from the top 5 people you're seeing in the major media. The invitation is still open at this moment, but again, we are kind of worried about what the responses were in regards to the invitation. We're all adults here, and when we found out some of the responses from Lou, from Jeremy, from Nick Pope, and the response from Sheehan, we've got the videos, we've got written correspondence, and we have personal correspondence. And let me tell you, it wasn't what we expected. So we're going to be going over this discussion tonight. The aftermath is already started. Again, we're just trying to create a discussion here at Third Phase of Moon. We're all adults. People should be able to come together and have a dialogue. But at this moment in time, it seems the people that we invited don't want to participate in a dialogue that should happen. Most people agree that there should be a dialogue, but the responses were, I'd have to say, quite explosive. Let's start it off with Luis Elizondo's response to the invitation. Dave Scott was interviewing Lou on his show, Spaced Out Radio. We're going to be sharing some of this stuff when we bring our presentation to Dr. Greer on the responses. But before we do that, we're going to generalize this in a pretty quick step-by-step process. So Lou's response after Dave Scott on Spaced Out Radio asked Lou Elizondo, would you be willing to participate on the Third Phase of Moon platform and discuss with Dr. Greer and have a conversation? Lou's response was amazing and kind of disconcerting at the same time. First off, he says, Dr. Greer, who? And then he laughs in an incredible form. And then he says right after that, I don't negotiate with terrorists. He also included words like, I don't deal with bullies and crybabies. So let's just start it off right now. We got the panel. I have my brother Brent with me, and we have Goofon, Richard Giordano with us, including Michael from Dark Hour Paranormal. Let's start off with Lou's response on Spaced Out Radio. What's your thoughts on this, Rich?
I felt like you did. I was a little surprised at what I heard, being that Lou has always been so professional and when he speaks and cordial and saying the right thing. Apparently, I guess the question that was asked wasn't or shouldn't have been asked, and it sounded like Lou was caught off guard and gave a knee-jerk response. What he said about Greer was uncalled for, saying that he doesn't deal with, and I don't know if he was including Third Phase of Moon in this or the whole entire idea and the other people involved with Greer about this debate, calling them, saying I don't negotiate with terrorists, basically, for lack of a better term. It's what he said, right out of the guy's mouth. I think what Lou is starting to do, and we're starting to see this when he's on other podcasts, he's starting to get a little too comfortable with himself. Like, he's almost acting like he is king of everything in ufology, and that's what I've always saw in Lou, and it's starting to come out. It's almost like you can't do or say anything to me. I am ufology. Without me, you wouldn't be talking about anything. That's what I feel. The response was arrogant and it was uncalled for. Unprofessional.
Unprofessional to say the least, and especially coming from a person that works within the government or consults with the government and was involved with the Pentagon. These are harsh words. Some people say it was a joke, and he didn't really mean it that way, and he was just gesturing. But again, this kind of talk in this field is, in my opinion, shouldn't be used. And let me tell you, we've got all the responses. We said we were going to reach out to everybody, and we've got the responses from all of them. And we're going to be showcasing the evidence. But we're still inviting everybody, when this comes up with Greer, for them to still participate. Before we get to Jeremy Corbell's response and the invitation, let's take it out to Dark Hour Paranormal. Your thoughts on Luis Elizondo's invitation and the invitation and his response to it.
When I started hearing Lou Elizondo use this type of language, I honestly felt disheartened. My jaw dropped because it was so juvenile, the way that he approached this. I mean, it was a very respectful question in regards to his appearance on the panel with Dr. Stephen Greer and the others. And I felt that we were stepping back perhaps into like a more political arena. Now, I understand ufology has been politicized, but this is a characteristic of politics wherein people are taking these immature jabs at each other that really isn't something you want to have repeated in any sort of outfit that you have personally. And in my opinion, like you guys are saying here in other words, this type of talk does not belong in our field. Just tonight, Luis Elizondo had mentioned on Black Vault interview that he did, and I quote, "We're all adults here." Well, it was funny to hear him say that and sort of made me cringe a little bit, knowing how he spoke about Dr. Stephen Greer and, some of the verbiage that he was choosing to express himself with. Again, it's surprising because normally Lou is very professional when he's talking. You don't really see much of that human side of him. He's very much all business when he's on these presentations. And to hear him loosen up in such a way that was essentially aggressive towards the idea of sitting down and having an adult conversation, just his reaction, again, I was very disheartened, and I'm disappointed to see that this is where some of these people are reaching in respect to, again, their expression.
It's interesting because when Third Phase Moon reached out to everybody that we invited on this discussion, that Dr. Greer basically was stating to everybody in his statement is in regards to Jeremy Corbell, Nick Pope, Sheehan, and now Luis Elizondo, and we got their response. And again, this response was something that was totally unexpected. We could have expected a simple yes or no, or maybe some other time, but that kind of language was definitely, like, I think we all can agree, language we don't need in this field. Brent, your thoughts here?
Like we keep saying, we're living a movie here, and these actors are hired, the casting call is closed, and we got the people, the frontmen, that's going to talk about this narrative that's going to run through everything right now. I don't think it's going to change anytime soon. It's already set in stone. Again, with Louis' kind of comeback, this dangerous verbiage is kind of scary. You shouldn't throw these like landmines, these hand grenades into the field of ufology. It's just not very good language, again, as I just said. But how he kind of states himself now recently, even Rich said it, and we all kind of see it. He's trying to kind of become like this human now. He's trying to dehumanize himself from this high aspect of being interwoven in the government. Now he's just acting like you want to have a burger and a beer with him. It's kind of interesting. He's talking about cars and all this stuff. Why can't he just confront a simple thing? There's a platform ready to be held by Third Phase, and it's ready to happen anytime within a week. Dr. Greer's ready. Why don't these guys just come forward and hash it out? It shouldn't take longer than 10 minutes, and I think these guys might come to some sort of conclusion, but then again, there's this script, and that's why I think they're not showing up to the plate.
Yeah, it seems so, because the responses that we've been getting from all the other actors or players involved with this narrative on the major media. Let's get to Nick Pope. I received correspondence from Nick Pope, which we'll be showcasing. Nick Pope has allowed us to share his statement in regards to what Dr. Greer stated about his point of view. And again, these are all points of views. Third Phase of Moon isn't really taking any sides at any means right now. We're just trying to get to the answers. We're creating a platform that we could have a discussion, and that's what this is all about, an adult discussion. So, that being said, Nick Pope has given us permission to share with Dr. Greer his statement in regards to what Dr. Greer said about him. And at this moment, Nick Pope has hesitantly declined this invitation. He says he's not in the way of what Luis Elizondo said. At least Nick Pope's still open-minded. So let's talk about that. Nick Pope, he's been in it for a long time. His language was proper, but he still has declined at this moment to come forward, and we're urging you, Nick Pope, to come forward. Why is he not coming forward? He's known Dr. Greer for a long time, Rich.
I really don't know, to be honest. I think he's part of the script, maybe. He's been in the field a long time and was asked, probably because of the Ministry of Defense, to be a part of this, maybe. And it's very possible he has a lot of information that he could share with these people. So maybe he's part of it that way. Maybe they made him an offer, and he said, okay. It's really, because Nick was very proper, very professional in his response, and there were some people who tweeted him if he would go on Third Phase of Moon and talk to Greer, and he kindly retweeted back and said, at this time, I'm just going to bow out, and I would look like the villain here, he said. So I don't know what he means by that, but I guess ex-government guy would be the villain. And he felt like he would be picked on that way or pointed out to be that kind of person. So I could see why he would back out of it, but I would also like to see him talk because of his knowledge and things he knows. But then we go back to what we've been saying, and maybe this is a script, which I think it is. I know you can feel the same way. And if he's going against or off script, that could create some problems for him because maybe he says the wrong thing that they don't want to be out there. So I think that's probably why. He's just playing it safe because everybody else is going to say no, and they probably told him, no, you can't go on there, or whatever. That's just it. There's not much to say about Nick Pope because he was so nice about it. No controversy.
And that's proper, and it is interesting. He, again, in our email, he kindly said, thanks for the kind invitation. So he wasn't hostile. So I consider Nick Pope a gentleman, and that's a good attribute. But him declining still an interview with a colleague that he's been involved with for so many years and have an adult discussion. Nick Pope's been on Third Phase of Moon. Dr. Greer's been on Third Phase of Moon. We've spoken to Nick Pope many times on this platform. Why are they denying Dr. Greer's invitation on Third Phase of Moon's? Just to have a discussion. What's your thoughts on that, Michael?
I wonder if this is a similar situation wherein you have somebody who's doing fringe research in, let's say, archaeology, and they make a very interesting and controversial discovery, and because it goes against the grain, behind closed doors, some of his peers may agree with him, but they'll never show it publicly. I wonder if that's part of, perhaps Nick Pope's thoughts behind this. Maybe he knows that Greer has something a little bit more revolutionary. I mean, we have to keep in mind just how divided this field is and the extent that each one of those branches actually reaches. I mean, in respect to the scripted or I should say possibly scripted narrative of fear, because this is something I think we're still learning about and, putting our thumbs on as we go forward. Of course, all arrows lead that direction, but it is scripted. But, you have governments involved in this sort of thing. We're not talking about small groups of people or organizations like MUFON or what have you, coming out and making these claims that, we're going to be talking about things that are current in respect to people at large. And again, coming back to, Dr. Stephen Greer, he has this very opposing view, but it's a very constructive view of what extraterrestrials are, or perhaps, whatever we're looking at in respect to the fear narrative moving forward. So, I think a lot of these guys just don't want to engage, and especially with Nick Pope being as professional as he was in his response, I think it's more diplomatic on his end to make this decision rather than a personal choice. But, that being said, I really don't know, again, how much he may agree with Dr. Greer behind closed doors, and still not be able to say that to the extent that he would in public.
Interesting. Absolutely. And again, Nick has not 100% declined it at this point. He's still open-minded. So let's see if Nick, has maybe some courage. People have claimed that Stephen Greer is a lion, and people are kind of concerned about going up against him in the ring, I guess. But again, we're adults here. We could figure this out. Brent, your thoughts on Nick Pope decision at this moment?
Yeah, it's cool. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on here. And again, Greer's ready to take them all on at the same time. He's ready for it. So that should give everybody courage. If they're all backing each other up on the other side of the ring, why not take on Greer 1 against 5? They should be able to pummel Greer. But again, Greer's this little firecracker. Who knows what he could do? And he might just demolish them all at the same time. Again, with Pope and his statements on why he wouldn't come on Third Phase of Moon and share his knowledge with shoot, we got 800,000 subscribers. That's a good platform to, but again, we might want to just discuss that, and there could be a lot of other open conversation. And he's ready to go on the major news, the major platforms, the major media. Just again, yesterday, he is announcing these aerial phenomenon could be an act of war. This is the most dangerous verbiage you could ever use in this kind of field, and he's ready to spread that kind of words out there. Why can't he just come on Third Phase of Moon and talk, and let's get a discussion? But again, he was a gentleman with his response amongst the others.
Yeah, so let's break it down. So far, we've got the Nick Pope and Luis Elizondo response. We're going to get into Jeremy Corbell in just a second. But that being said, it's interesting that Nick Pope did say that there's some kind of miscommunication. Wouldn't it be proper time for him just to have a discussion with Greer and clear things up? It could happen in 5 minutes. That's the whole point of this. We want to clear this whole miscommunication, if that's what it is, up. And there's a lot of people out there in the major media and everywhere else, they're not asking the right questions of these guys yet. So let's go to Sheehan. Let's get to this guy. He's now the lawyer for Luis Elizondo. And we've suddenly got his response due to the fact that, again, Spaced Out Radio, Dave Scott was speaking with Sheehan live on video, and we proposed a question to Sheehan if he was going to participate in the debate. Our chat came up because Dave Scott posted it up. I guess we put a $20 super chat to get Dave Scott's attention and pose this question to Sheehan. You could clearly see in the video Sheehan was reading the statements. At that moment, Sheehan, this being said, it was just about near the end of the show, but we could see Sheehan reading, and he didn't say goodbye to anybody. He didn't properly say thanks for having me on the show to Dave Scott. He read the question, and as a lawyer, Dave was ready to ask the question, and as a lawyer, he did a pretty smart thing, in my opinion. He didn't say a word, and I have to he bounced, and he shut the video off and cut the feed and didn't respond. We could clearly see him reading the question. And immediately after the video was shut off on his end, Dave Scott and I think Melinda, they were going to ask him the question, but they didn't have time. Oh, well, that was convenient for Sheehan because as a lawyer, I would respect that not saying a word is sometimes the smartest thing, unlike Lou with his statements. But what's your thoughts, Rich, on Sheehan's kind of demeanor and reading the response and bowing out? And he's definitely seems that he's not going to participate either, even though that Dr. Greer and Sheehan were participant friends and colleagues not too long ago.
He had that look on his face like, I'm going to get out of here, and he did. And it was just real interesting because you could see it in thinking, like, should I answer? What should I do? He just leaves. He didn't even sign off or anything, and it was the funniest thing to see. And Probably the smartest thing anybody's done when that question came up, because why say anything and put yourself out there? So I thought that was a real interesting way to reply by not replying.
Definitely a strategic lawyer tactic there. And again, it's interesting because we are getting the responses from everybody. And that's what's great. We did our job as far as reaching out and getting their reactions. And I think it's important, but this story's not done yet. What do you think about this lawyer tactic, Michael, about him not stating a word, but again, not coming forward or replying in any other way? Is this just another way of avoiding the matter of a conversation, an adult conversation with an alternative viewpoint?
Yeah, I mean, very recently we saw when Biden was questioned about UFOs, his reaction was to make a wisecrack and walk away as quickly as he could. Yeah, I agree with you guys that Sheehan had probably done the safest thing, but it speaks volumes, possibly even more than if he did open his mouth over the subject. All these guys seem to not want to touch any sort of conversation with Dr. Greer with a 10-foot pole, and there has to be a reason that there's such an aversion wherein nobody's politely declining. I don't know obviously there is personal history with some of these people. I don't know if that relationship over time, in personal lives has been soured to some degree, but, even listening to Elizondo speak about Greer, and, we see Sheehan's reaction when just posed with the question to sit down and talk. It makes me wonder if there's something else there that's in the way of a personal conflict. Because most people aren't going to react the way these people are, or at least you wouldn't assume they would. You would figure that, again, you'd politely decline or say, this isn't for me, whatever the case is. But there's such either an aggressive reaction or it's a staunch truncation of any sort of communication when it comes to, again, just being posed with the question, will you sit down and have this conversation with somebody? I don't know what they're running from, but clearly, given Sheehan's reaction here, that's exactly what some of them are doing. They're literally running away from the subject.
Absolutely. Even Lou was calling Dr. Greer a bully, and he doesn't like bullies. Well, usually the way I was taught, you stand up to bullies. So why aren't these guys standing up to a bully? That's what you should do, in my opinion. And again, we have all this on video, correspondence, and personal communications in regards to what we're talking about tonight, the reaction, the responses from the invitation. We're not speculating. This is straight up. We have video evidence. We have personal emails, including Nick Pope allowing us to share his response. And we saw Lou's response. We saw Sheehan's response. Now let's get to Jeremy Corbell's response. Let me say this before I get into it. I will have to say it was a private conversation I had with Jeremy. So we're not going to get into details about my conversation or what I'd have to say. There wasn't much of conversation. I could just say it was very, very hostile. And I was pretty much being yelled at for about 5 minutes. I tried to get in my word edgewise. I left him an email, as I did with Nick Pope, the exact same invitation. But from the response we got from Jeremy Corbell is just about as hostile, I'd have to say, equivalent to what Lou said. Again, I'm not going to get into details as a private conversation, but I can tell you the gist of the conversation. It was highly hostile. And I've interviewed Jeremy Corbell. I've helped him out over the years, promoting his documentaries, his stories, what have you. Hey, we've done that. I was surprised that he talked to me in a way that he did, knowing that we're trying to just get the word out on all the information, and he responded in a way that he did to Greer. Thoughts on that, Michael? Go ahead.
This is, in my opinion, a very classic case of the ego getting the better of you. Wherein a lot of these people might have been grounded in earlier days, it seems today that they hold themselves on some sort of pedestal, wherein even just trying to, have a conversation or reaching out to do that You're supposed to go through specific avenues that sometimes maybe that's not what you would naturally gravitate towards, because, you leave avenues of communication open to speak with these people. And again, if you're a public figure, you have to assume that people will approach you in the right way, again, through different means of communication. So, with his reaction, again, it's mirroring what a lot of these other people are giving us as well. You have to think at some point, maybe there is some sort of web that connects these guys in way of a mentality, or some sort of collective approach, in respect to Greer, wherein, they're just not going to engage. Maybe there's some sort of consensus amongst them. And it wouldn't surprise me, again, if this is a scripted narrative, which, in my heart of hearts, I believe that there is that aspect there. It's unfortunate, again, that we see this type of reaction when we genuinely reach out and give people a platform to come and talk. What is everybody so afraid of? How could 10 minutes of your time really be lost when you're opening up a dialogue about something that is affecting everybody on this planet right now? The major media is covering it. You're on the major media. Jeremy Corbell, Lou Elizondo. You guys are on all of these different outlets. We're seeing you nightly on different news broadcasts. Why can't you just sit down and talk to the opposing side? As you guys have said, if they have something concrete, they should have no problem going up against Greer and having a healthy debate. They should have that backbone and confidence in the way of what they're touting. Because that's what they're giving us. So why not use that and stand up strong and go against somebody who might challenge you? It's very odd that they, again, are running away and avoiding this and declining, appearance on this particular platform. It begs the question, what is it that they're hiding, that they don't want to be engaged? Are they going to be laid flat? Is the entire narrative going to crumble because of this interaction with Greer? Maybe that is part of their concern. And if that is the case, well, we need to be concerned regardless. That would just give us more cause to focus on, what the motivation might be behind some of these people's responses.
Again, the responses that we receive from these gentlemen, I guess you could say, there is very surprising. And again, Jeremy Corbell's response was the first contact I made. And I guess he didn't want to talk to Greer. He didn't want to have anything to do with them. But then again, the whole point is it's just a discussion. We're all adults here. Why is Jeremy so adamant or so hostile in regards to a simple discussion, being that he is kind of this conduit to the major media? I don't know why these people don't want to participate in a discussion. It seems we will be showcasing this response, this reaction from the people that were invited when we talked to Dr. Greer. We're going to be having other guest panel members talking along with Greer in regards to this discussion happening right now. And again, Luis Elizondo, Jeremy Corbell, Nick Pope, Sheehan, you're still invited. Let's just break it down. Let's break down this miscommunication, if that's what this is all about. But from what we're hearing, they're declining the offers, and to me that says a lot. It really opens up the eyes, and it should open up your eyes on this narrative that's being played. If they were not part of a narrative, they shouldn't have a problem with an open discussion. But at this moment, it seems they're not allowed, or they don't want to have this open discussion. They're in charge of the story, and we got to keep a close eye on it, because we have, in our opinion, insight that it's going against what we're all being told in the major media. This is all big time, guys. Buckle up. Things have just got started. Make sure you hit the subscription button, notification bell right here at Third Phase of Moon. Go check out Richard Giordano at GoofOn. We're going to be supplying the original links below. He's updating the breaking news events as it proceeds every day. And it's our pleasure to have Richard on the show, and the insight, including Dark Hour Paranormal. Michael, he's got his incredible YouTube channel going after the answers, getting them for us. And he's revealing things in regards to the paranormal and UFO world it's an incredible collaboration, what's going on. So Michael and Rich's links are in the description below. Everybody be safe out there. Keep your eyes on the skies. Blake Cousins, we'll see you next time.